please remain standing for the Star-Spangled Banner, sung by Taylor Robbins, and accompanied by the Southmoreland High School Band, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, presented by Jordan Zachary Belts, Morgan A. Brown, Kristen Danielle Howe, Devin Allen Jacobs, and David Lee Weimer. You may now be seated. Good evening, parents, guardians, grandparents, relatives, siblings, teachers, Dr. Molnar, Dr. Scott, principals, assistant principal, and school board members. It is an honor and a privilege to welcome you all to the graduation of the class of 2015. Most importantly, good evening to the class of 2015. This very class sitting before me has unlimited potential. The person sitting next to you has the potential to become CEOs, lawyers, engineers, nurses, and even the President of the United States. I truly believe we are all going to be successful in our own way in this windy path known as life. Our path will lead us to change the world, and that is exactly what we will do. Our circle of life started when we were born to make an impact on the world around us. It's the circle of life, as the Lion King lyrics go. It's the circle of life, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and love, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of life. We all fear the unguided path that life will be taking us in, yet fear will never overcome us. We shall overcome fear. We have all accomplished the nerve-wracking situations that school has introduced us to. Whether it be reading a poem in front of English class, opening the acceptance letter to the college of your dreams, or walking onto the field for your last time as a high school student, we have all been afraid or nervous at some point. While our future paths lie before us, waiting to unfold, one thing is certain: high school is over, and we have all come to our first true milestone in the circle of life. Although we have dreams and goals, there are so many paths to take in order to accomplish what we want. The path isn't worthwhile if it doesn't lead you to where you want to go. Which path should you choose? The poet Robert Frost wrote in one of his famous poems, "I took the path less traveled," and that has made all the difference. Instead of selecting the same path as others, make your own individual path and leave a trail that shows where you have been and where you plan to go. Don't lose your individuality, because it is what separates you from the rest of the world. I would like to take a moment to remember all of those whose circle of life ended much too abruptly. Their presence is deeply missed. All of these individuals, including all of you here today, have helped us along this magical path. I would like to thank you for coming and sharing this important milestone of our lives and your presence in our circle of life in the future. To my fellow classmates, I congratulate you for coming this far. I wish you all the best in whatever path of life you choose. I hope your dreams take you to the corners of your smiles, to the highest of your hopes, to the window of your opportunities, and most special places your heart has ever known. Best of luck in finding the place on this wonderful path, this wonderful circle we call life. And for my final time, stay classy, Southmoreland. The Southmoreland High School Concert Band will now perform a selection entitled "Red Badge of Courage." Please welcome the Salutatorian, Mr. Austin James Belzer.
Good evening, classmates, parents, family, and friends. I'd like to begin by offering my congratulations to my fellow classmates of the class of 2015 for this great achievement we are here to commemorate this evening. As the days until graduation quickly came and passed, my thought turns to what lies ahead, but also to the memorable times I have had here. Many of these experiences have involved music in some shape or form. Over the years, music has become an escape, a comfort, and a passion for me. However, I am sure that I am not the only one to be impacted by music. Music has been a symbol of unification for all of humanity. Since the beginning of time, music has brought people together, connected people, and caused people to bond. Over the years, our class has come together and flowed with each other, much like a song. When you first look at a band or an ensemble, you see that they are led by a conductor who keeps time for them as an integral part for the success of the piece. In our case, our educators here are those conductors of our song. They have instructed us to be better in all that we do. They have pointed out details that resulted in our success. Finally, they have guided us to learn skills that will shape and inspire our life song. If you've ever examined a piece of sheet music or a score of music for each voice or instrument, it is abundantly clear that there are many parts that must come together to create that song, and each part is unique, just like every one of us. Listening to a song, there's a main melody or that catchy groove that gets stuck in your head. However, the song would not reach its full potential without the background chords and harmonies, which I believe is true for us in this class. We have those who are outgoing in certain areas or skills, just as the main melody of a song is passed from instrument to instrument or voice to voice throughout the piece. However, there is also those who make their mark by being passive and quiet, but are still an essential part of the song to create harmony and balance within a group. Also looking at a score of music, you see signs that instruct different parts to crescendo or decrescendo, which means to increase or decrease in volumes at certain times. This adds to the unique element of each part written, and each one of us is a unique part of this group. We all have our time to shine, and high points in our lives occurring just as they do in music, unexpectedly. Eventually, our lives all come together to create a song that is a perfect mix of highs and lows, ups and downs, melodies and harmonies, with a common tie that bonds each part together. And for us, our song is Southmoreland, the class of 2015. However, it is clear that tonight, the song we have created over the past 13 years together is coming to an end. In music, songs may end on a somber note, or they can go out with a bang. Looking at our class, I feel that we have combined these two types of endings to create one that best describes our journey here together. Although it is sad for us to leave this school, a place where we have found happiness, success, friendship, and comfort, I believe we are going out with a bang still by leaving such an outstanding legacy at Southmoreland. Our song here will never be forgotten. We're reaching another high point in the even bigger song, which is an individual song we're about to embark on in our near future. As our song and legacy we have created over the years at Southmoreland comes to a close, we begin a new movement in the song that is our life. This new movement will be different for every one of us, encompassing different people and having different high points and low ones. But we will embrace this change because, as in any piece of music with many movements, like our lives, certain melodies or grooves resurface later through that piece. Therefore, we will find happiness in the conclusion of our journey here tonight, because no matter what direction our lives take us, those memories remain constant and are bound to resurface at many points in our lives, just like that familiar melody in a song. Throughout our lives, continuing to write our individual songs, we will encounter others and influence the songs of others as well. I am honored to have encountered and worked with such an amazing class of great people and great faculty because we made this song together, and it is a memorable one. Tonight, as the final notes of our song resonate, do not be saddened by the close of this segment. Go out and embrace new melodies and harmonies of life, and know that like all music, the familiar melody we have created here will no doubt resurface, and I hope it will bring you as much joy as I'm sure it will bring me. Thank you all once again for the great memories that I have created here. The song that is the class of 2015 will forever live on at Southmoreland, while we each move on composing our own unique music masterpieces. I have no doubt your future compositions will be amazing. I wish you all the very best of luck.
The senior members of the Highlander Choir will now perform a selection entitled Africa. Please welcome the valedictorian, Sage Joseph Gwynn.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to my fellow classmates of the Southmoreland class of 2015. We spent some of our best and most formative years together, and we should be very proud of what we've done. To the Southmoreland School Board and administration, teachers and faculty, thank you for everything. I know I'm speaking for many of my classmates when I say that the teachers at Southmoreland really care about us. With everything we've done, they have been there to help us, this year especially, with college applications and scholarship after scholarship, writing recommendation letters and reading essays for us, usually at the last minute, and running down a guidance to get transcript after transcript. They've never hesitated to help us. I am grateful for all they've done. I know they've prepared us for our future endeavors, and I know that they will still be there to help us even after we walk out these doors. To all of our parents and family, we couldn't have done it without you. Your love, support, and sacrifice made everything we've done possible. To my mom, dad, and my family, you made sure I had experiences that have shaped the person that I am, and I thank you. I'm certain that all of us here tonight have something in our lives that we are very passionate about, something we all enjoy doing or learning about. For me, my passion has always been learning about people in history, what they believe in, their impact, and what they have done and sacrificed so we could have what we have today. So I would be somewhat remiss if I didn't just briefly share the historical significance of this day, and that is that our graduation day is the late President John F. Kennedy's birthday. Even at a young age, he had an indelible impact on my worldview and what I believed are important virtues and principles. I'm honored today to hopefully share that same inspiration that was instilled in me with you, my classmates, particularly what I believe to be the prevailing messages that he stood for. The idea that we are all part of something much larger than ourselves, and that we have an obligation to work for the betterment of us all. Kennedy once said that one person can make a difference, and everyone should try. I know how much of a moral platitude that may sound, and I know how hard it is to believe that one person, like you, can really change the world. You might think that one person, a completely unassuming drop in the bucket, can't make a difference, but you're wrong. I think we sometimes become so entangled with the day-to-day goings-on of life that we forget to take a step back and remember that each and every one of us is just one human being. And that is the most absurd and wonderful and spectacular thing that anyone can be, just one human being. Because each and every one of us is part of something so much greater than ourselves. We are all part of the human experience. We are all travelers on a journey that has spanned millions of years, and we all reap the benefits of those who have come before us. From the first humans who sparked the flame, to foster civilization and introduce the most human of sentiments into the world, compassion, virtue, temperance, charity, where there is none before, to all those who have succeeded them, greater and lesser alike. I remember a graduation speech that Dr. Molnar gave 2 years ago, where he said that the air that was contained in Julius Caesar's last breath now had enough time to perfectly diffuse into the atmosphere, and that every breath we take, including the one that we're taking right now, contains a part of Caesar's last breath. It contains a part of the first breath Kennedy took 98 years ago today. The people who have come before us have not left us. The same blood that flows through them still flows through us, and the same air that they breathe is still breathed by us. And all the hopes, dreams, and desires of every person who has ever lived, who has tried to make this world a better place, now rest with us. It's our turn to carry their torch. The past and present come together in harmony to make up a story, the story of all of us. And it's the most beautiful story in all the universe, because as far as we know, it's unique to us and us alone. Imagine that the next time you look up at the stars, that to all the innumerable stars and galaxies that are visible to us from this tiny rock and to the great expanse of space and time that stretches before us, we humans are the sole heirs. And you, all of you, are a part of that. The word commencement means a beginning or start. This is our beginning, and you can let it take you anywhere you wish. If you want to be an entrepreneur, become one. Leonard H. Goldenson was born and raised in Scottsdale and later went on to found the ABC television network. If you want to be a reporter, become one. Herbert Morrison walked the same streets of Scottsdale that we all have, and although we may not know his name, we do know his immortalized words owe the humanity as he reported to the nation the Hindenburg crashing before him. This area has given rise to famous doctors and lawyers, businessmen, and even an NFL Hall of Famer. We are beginning here just as they did. and we can also do great things. We can also make a difference. As I look out into the audience today, I see many people who have gotten to know very closely over the last 12 years, and I know that each and every one of you has the ability to succeed in whatever your endeavors may be. Regardless of what you do in life, regardless of where you go or what you become, you can always be comforted by the fact that you are truly part of something divine. Don't forget that we are all in this together, and even though we are the sole heirs of our past, we are not the sole heirs of our actions. It is our responsibility to be kind, to be tolerant, to make sure that what we do has a positive impact. Water seeks its own level, and humans are much the same way. The more we strive to be good, the more good there will be. We can take the actions in our lives to set the standard, to set the level. We now stand at a precipice of human history. Human progress races forward at speeds we never thought possible before. The last 100 years have been the most important in our history, and I've no doubt that the decades to come will only surpass those that have preceded. And someone, someday, 100 years from now, may be mentioning the way we impacted the world. The torch has been passed to us at this most important time in human history. The world needs people to rise to the occasion now more than ever, to raise the level. It needs people who are willing to go beyond that which divides us and focus on that which unites us. It needs people who will work for the progress and betterment of us all. It's time for us to come to foster the best qualities of the human experience. Congratulations to my fellow graduates of the class of 2015, and I wish you all the best of luck in the future.
Please welcome Superintendent Dr. John Molnar.
These guys are a tough act to follow. Didn't they do a nice job? Members of the Board of Education, administrators, faculty, guests, and most importantly, the graduates of the class of 2015. The story is told that there was a monastery in Europe where one of the young brothers in training lived with mortal fear of being called upon to preach at chapel service. This brother in training thought that he would cut this off at the pass, so he went to the prior, the chief monk, and he said to him, "Look, I will do any job you want me to do. I will go out into the fields, I'll scrub the floor, I'll cook, I'll do anything you want me to do. Please, just don't ask me to preach at chapel." Well, the prior said to himself, "You know, this is exactly how this guy needs to grow." So he said to him, "Tomorrow, you are going to preach at chapel service." So the novice went back to his cell filled with dread. He got up the next morning, prepared for chapel, and then it came time for his message. He looked into the eyes of his peers and began by asking, "Brothers, do you know what I'm going to say?" And they all shook their head no. And he said, "Neither do I. Please rise for the benediction." Immediately after chapel service, the prior came to him and said, "Look, this is for your own good. You're going to preach tomorrow." So the next day came, and the scene was the same. And the young brother again stood before and began the same way he had the day before. "Brothers, do you know what I'm going to say?" Well, in this time, since they were all there yesterday and had experienced that wonderful sermon, they all nodded their heads yes. So he said, "Well, since you already know, there's no point in me saying it again. Please rise for the benediction." Well, the prior was furious. He again called the young man into his office and explained to him in no uncertain terms that he would deliver a proper sermon at chapel the next day. And if he did not do so, he would be expelled from the monastery permanently, and he would not be permitted to become a monk. So the third service started just as the last two had. The novice stood before his peers and began, "Brothers, do you know what I'm going to say?" And some of them tentatively shook their head yes, and others shook their head no, because they were really confused. So the young brother said, "Very well, let those who know tell those who don't." Please rise for the benediction. Now, I share that story with you by way of introduction because I believe that we might be able to see a bit of ourselves in the story. Just like that young novice, we know that trying something new is never easy, especially if we're trying something that is outside of our comfort zone. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's really, really scary. But we also know that unlike the young brother, in order to be successful, we sometimes have to face down our fears and try new things. Overcoming our fears doesn't happen instantly, and it doesn't happen automatically. It's the result of deliberate, intentional, and conscious action toward doing things that scare us. As a result of overcoming our fears, we grow as people, and we expand the possibilities that surround our lives. Do you remember the last time you really wanted to do something but fear got in your way? We all have those moments when we're enthralled with an idea, only to have fear prevent us from moving forward. So what can we do to keep fear from paralyzing us from moving forward with our dreams and desires? Isn't it interesting sometimes that playing it safe makes many people choose being miserable over being happy? The fascinating thing about us as human beings is that the minute we experience pain, we never ever want to experience it again. So as a result, we do things that we think will ensure that we don't get hurt. In fact, we'll go to greater degrees to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. For example, if you fall in love and you give every ounce of your being to the object of your affection, things are going well for a while, but then something happens and the relationship ends. You feel crushed, and you swear to yourself that you will never again allow yourself to be so vulnerable. And as a result, anytime you meet someone new, you remember that painful experience, and you bring that experience into your new relationship. Fear of risk and fear of failure also appear when it comes to the topic of making a living. For some reason, many people think that in order to make money, you have to work at a job that you don't like. When I was a child, someone once told me to enjoy being a kid, because when I became an adult, I would have to get a job in order to pay the bills. And I would have to be responsible. She made it sound like being an adult was an existence made up of misery and not joy. Well, yes, we do have to be responsible for our lives, and we do have to pay the bills. But where does it say that we have to be miserable? I have yet to see proof that we have to hate our jobs in order to pay the bills. One of the many interesting things about life is that nothing of value was ever gained by playing it safe. Take, for example, the founding of America. 56 men risked their lives by signing the Declaration of Independence. Their act of signing that document constituted treason, and it was a serious offense according to the laws of the British Empire. However, they knew they needed to sign that document in order to achieve independence. I wonder where we would be today if these men hadn't confronted their fears. So how do we go about taking risks and overcoming fear? Here's what I've learned and what I use when being confronted with a choice between playing it safe or leaping off the cliff into the unknown. First, develop an accurate perception. Thoughts and feelings always work hand in hand. Each influences the other. Feelings are often more powerful than thoughts. When things scare us, we worry. Worry then influences our thoughts and actions. We get nervous. Sometimes we even make ourselves sick. When these things begin to happen, take a step back and look at a situation or opportunity objectively, honestly, and with an open mind. Examine the pros and the cons and try to make a decision by putting fear and emotion aside. I can remember a time 23 years ago when I applied for a principal's position here at Southmoreland. The job was exactly what I wanted and what I had been working toward. But moving from a classroom in an elementary school in my hometown to the principal's office in Scottdale was really scary for me. The night before my first day on the job, I said to my wife, "What in the world have I gotten myself into? I don't think I can do this." She reminded me that I had prepared myself for the job and had survived several interviews before being offered the position. "What's the worst thing that can happen?" she asked. I replied that I might fail miserably and be fired. She said, "Well, you didn't have a good job when you graduated from college, and you were able to bounce back when you were laid off from your teaching job for 5 years. You know how to deal with the consequences, but I really think you'll be okay." Well, that was pretty good advice. When we look at a situation honestly and without fear, we can see what's at stake and make a decision that's the best for us. It might sound crazy to some people, but if you've looked at the facts objectively, you'll make the right decision. Secondly, believe in yourself. The interesting thing about overcoming fear is that you need to believe that you can do it. Doubt and fear feed on all the positive, happy thoughts and feelings that you may have. Nothing kills a dream more quickly than a doubt. But the thing about believing in yourself is that you have to have an accurate perception about yourself and the situation at hand. For example, I really like to sing. I think it would be really awesome to be like Luke Bryan and have 50,000 people dancing and singing "Crash My Party" while I'm on stage at Heinz Field. I think that would be an amazing experience. You can all picture that, can't you? However, no matter how much I think it would be amazing, there's no way I can become like Luke, because singing and playing the guitar are just not my strong points. I would not risk anything on that dream because I know I don't have what it takes. Yet I was willing to give up a secure teaching job in my hometown to come here as an administrator because I believed in myself and others believed in me. My job is based on what I've learned and studied for many years. I know my subject and I know my field well. I have minimal doubt about my potential and/or my talent. I know that I'm capable of learning more, and that makes me even more secure in knowing that I'm on the right path. You see, it's easier to take a risk when you believe that you can achieve what you're trying to do. Finally, surrender the outcome. What usually prevents people from taking a risk is the fact that the outcome is not guaranteed. None of us are able to predict exactly what the future will bring, but that's the beauty of life, isn't it? Do you really want to know ahead of time what will happen? I realize that a lot of fear about the future is a concern about whether or not you're going to be okay. But you will be okay, and you will land on your feet. You will usually have what you need at any given moment. You may not always get what you want, but that can be a blessing. Getting exactly what you want is not always good for you. When I look back on all my failed romances, and believe you me, there were many of them, I am so grateful that none of those relationships worked out. I'm also grateful that I put my fear of being hurt again aside and took one more chance. Now, if any of you see Mrs. Molnar in the near future, please share that thought with her. Usually things happen for a reason. Sometimes you will not know the exact reason for years to come. That's why it's important to surrender the outcome of any given situation. So what does that mean? That means that you give your best to the present moment and you trust that it will lead you exactly where you need to be. Life has an interesting way of working things out. Your job is to know what it is that you want, imagine all the details, and don't let go of your dream. Your job is to give your best at any given moment, be patient, and be brave. A small acorn eventually becomes a huge oak tree, and it does that without any help from you. The same holds true for you. Plant the seeds, water them, and do whatever you need to do, but let things develop in their own way in time. William Shakespeare said that life is a stage, and we must all play a part. What will your part be? Will you be an Oscar winner or an understudy? Having a life of love is our birthright. In Buddhist philosophy, it is said that to be born as a human being is the biggest blessing of all, for in human form, we can do amazing things. So please, don't waste the precious gift of life that you have on fear. You're capable of doing wonders. Fear is not the boss of you, you are the boss of it. Decide today that you can and you will overcome any and all of your fears. Don't live in the world of what if. Become your own biggest cheerleader and not your own worst enemy. Acknowledge your talents and abilities. Develop a growth mindset. Work hard and your dreams will come true. So let's go back to our young novice that I talked about when I first started to speak. Do you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say congratulations to each and every one of our graduates and best wishes for a bright and successful future.
Please welcome our principal, Mr. Dan Kravchak.
Well, this is your last step before we get your diploma, so I'll keep it to 15 minutes or so. Tomorrow you will be sadly disappointed that we won't be here at 8 a.m. for the third week in a row. But I'd like to extend my congratulations to the graduating class of 2015. I always feel very privileged to present the graduating class. Tonight you will receive a certificate indicating your membership into a special fraternity of individuals that spans many decades, and that is Southmoreland graduates. Your diploma represents years of hard work and many prolific experiences. With this document comes the responsibility to carry on this tradition of excellence in scholarship, leadership, and character that has served this educational community for decades. Graduates, you've spent 13 years now hammering away at core classes, geometry, biology, algebra, earth, space, science, physics, pre-calculus, intro to calculus, and calculus, and chemistry. Over the years, we have assessed your skill levels with DIBELS, PSSA, Foresight, CDT, Keystone, PSAT, SAT, ACT, ASVAB, and don't forget advanced placement tests. You've taken a plethora of quizzes, quests, tests. You've done senior portfolios, senior profiles, and every even and odd number problem in a mathematics textbook. When I was in high school, all the answers were in the back. I don't know if that's still true today. You spent thousands of hours fulfilling your necessary obligations of the core curriculum here at Southmoreland, and you've demonstrated tremendous achievement over the years in those areas. The Daily Show's Jon Stewart remarked in 2004 in a commencement address at William & Mary, and I quote, "But the unfortunate yet truly exciting thing about your life is that there is no core curriculum. The entire place is an elective. The paths are infinite and the results uncertain." Well, indeed, Jon Stewart is correct. You will have a vast number of paths to choose from as you leave this building. Let me remind you, you've had great preparation. In addition to this core background, you have fulfilled your cachet with many electives already, both inside and outside the classroom. We have been very privileged to see your work throughout the years at the Southmoreland Art Gala, Fay West Band Concert. We've watched you score runs and playoff victories in softball. Over time, we watched you volunteer the Fall Festival painting windows, marching in holiday parades, Bump It Up, Buddy Day, March for Parks, Autism Speaks, the Blood Drive SPC Reading Buddy program, and you've raised tens of thousands of dollars for Make-A-Wish and other community charities. And you've committed many random acts of kindness. You've served as members of Student Council, NHS, YEA, SLC, Outdoor Odyssey, Art Council, Faith in Action, Spanish Club, French Club, various sports teams, music groups, and you've organized fan buses to support each other. Members of your class have earned numerous accolades in academics, athletics, and the arts. There are way too many individually to name. Yesterday, students earned nearly $1 million in scholarships to schools such as St. Vincent, Seton Hill, Pitt, Penn State, and Ohio State. Graduates, I commend you. These accomplishments did not just happen, but required hard work and extra effort on your part. Your participation in all those electives doesn't end here at the doorstep. Continue to serve your community and yourself as the leaders that you are. I see many more accomplishments from this group. You have become a great group of leaders. In receiving this diploma tonight, you once again fulfilled the confidence and pride that this educational community has in you. Dr. Molnar, I attest that these students seated before you have fulfilled the graduation requirements as established by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Southmoreland Board of Education. The members of the class of 2015 are now ready to receive their diplomas. Mrs. St. Amant, please prepare the roll call.
Diplomas will be awarded by Dr. John Molnar, Superintendent of the Southmoreland School District, Mr. Dan Krofcheck, Southmoreland High School Principal. Members of the school board and district administrators then will receive graduates. They are Dr. Timothy Scott, Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Michael Bentz, Mrs. Cheryl Shipley, Mr. Ken Alt, Mr. James Beistel, Mr. Robert Calero, Mrs. Amy Love, Mrs. Gail Rhodes. Also participating from the administration is Mr. Daniel Clara, Principal, Director of Student Services, Mr. Vince Masha, Southmoreland Middle School, and Mr. John Lee, Principal, Southmoreland Elementary School. Sage Gwynn, Valedictorian. Austin James Belzer, Salutatorian. Nicholas James Shawley, Senior Class President. Brittany Jo Leonard, Senior Class Vice President. Taylor Lauren Millslagle, Senior Class Secretary. Henry Riley, Senior Class Treasurer. Emily Ann Roth, Senior Class Historian. She will be presented her diploma by her uncle, Mr. James Beistel. Sydney Ali Aaron. Nancy Albright. Brianna Bailey. Christina Bennett. She will be presented her diploma by School Board member Mr. Ken Alt. Megan Marcella Berg-Swope. Brooklyn Nicole Bodenheimer. Kelly T. Boy. Michael Joseph Baird. Jordan Belts. Jackson David Bickerton. Austin Matthew Scott Bixler. Kyler Allen Brocious. Morgan Brown. Brennan Chase Bunner. Dominic Burke. Jesse Allen Christner. Devin Jordan Cole. Brennan Matthew Coles. Brandon Matthew Collins. Caden Capetti. Trisha Ann Bungard. Emily May Burkhart. Cassandra Lee Bouchel. Sierra Carpenter. Autumn Lee Cochran. Taylor Joe Kahn. Brooke Aaron Cottom. Christina Rose Cranston. Emily Paige Donovan. Nicole Ray Edwards. Shayna Fisher. Lakin Hannah Fry. Austin Jason Cowan. Andrew Davidovich. Mason James DeWitt. Michael Damian Ernesty. Darius Dalton Eicher. Joseph Robert Espy III. Andrew Evans. David Braden Gaborko II. Mateo Garner. Caleb M. Garstecki. Dale Joseph Gazda. Sierra Blanche Graft. Caitlin Noel Gretsch. Kayla Grosser. Ashley Marie Hall. Jody Celine Herr. Michaela Joanna Horvat. Kristen Danielle Howe. Justina Ann Jaquillard. Victoria Jones. Anastasia Kiefer. Taylor Rose Kyle. Alicia Marie Lackey. Katrina Lawfer. Michael Gismondi. Kyle Robert Goodwin. Brock Matthew Grabiak. Austin Michael Griffiths. Kyle M. Halliman. Troy Allen Hanchar. Robert Joseph Hardy, Jr. Joshua Hawkins. Michael James Hoffman, Jr. John Stephen Hoke, Jr. Tony B. Hunter. Devin Jacobs. Caitlin Renee Leety. Addison Kate Laux. Emily Lynn McGee. Rachel May. Sierra Lynn Macbeth. Brittany Nicole McCormick. Brittany Ann McFadden. Juliana Mickey. Tessa Ray Miller. Emily Ann Myers. Amanda Ostrowski. Travis Edward Jones. Regis Alexander Kaufman. Charles Vernon King. Kenneth King. Tyler King. Josh Landis. Adam Richard Leisure. Casey Leonard. Justin Charles Leshko Livingood. Tyler Joseph Leshko Livingood. Philip Andrew Lockhart. David Andrew Miller, Jr. Emily Abigail Paparello. Jessica Jane Poole. Brittany Pravlik. Summer Prinky. Brittany Reynolds. Taylor Robbins. Morgan Marie Rom. Jenna Lee Roth. Jenna will be presented her diploma by Mr. James Beistel, her uncle. Casey Rudder. Stacy Lee Sample. Ashton Marie Santmeyer. Emma Caitlin Sarver. Charles Robert Mills II. Jacob Moracy. Stephen Robert Murphy. Benjamin Edward Nemick. Jordan James Polakowski. Jacob Alexander Pasula. Isaac Stephen Mackenzie Proch. Devin Ray. Maxwell Paul Ridenauer. Stephen Rizza. John Thomas Robertucci. Samuel Clark Sager. Heaven K. Schmidt. Ashley Nicole Silvas. Taylor Elizabeth Sipos. Anna Nicole Sawinski. Catherine Ann Spotted Bear. Courtney Stutz. Victoria Strader. Kristen Suhan. Simone Vivio. Stephanie Diane Wells. Catherine Marie Witaseski. Sarah Willis. Jonathan Sanners. Austin Jordan Smith. Scott Matthew Spicola. Austin Stantz. Zachary Ryan Steffen. Sean D. Suter. Nathan Swank. Brandon Lee Washington. David Weimer. Edwin Francis Safina, Jr. Colton Zundel. Students, you may now turn your tassels. It is with great pleasure that I present the graduates of Southmoreland High School class of 2015. Please stand for the alma mater.